Okay. What different kids have you encountered? Like what services and accommodations do they use?
I've had a whole range of different students that I've had. Because I've had, let's see, I gotta think back to my first student teaching. I had EBD students in there where basically you just have to watch, what they can handle, control their, where they are emotion-wise, EBD, emotional disorder. I had learning disabilities where you had to adapt to the learning, where even after the instruction I had to take them to the side and work on maybe easier problems with them so they can do the homework later. I've had just recently a little boy with cerebral palsy where that was in kindergarten, so like when we did group work, like in a circle on the floor, he couldn't always write because he had braces, so we had to bring in a chair for him and give him a whiteboard to be able to write on. In my preschool that I just left, I had a girl that eventually will be diagnosed with ED or autism, or there's a ton of possibilities that she could be eventually diagnosed with, but she had a lot of attention deficit, so we had to refocus her, give her chill times. There was a girl in there also that can see but is legally blind, as now her sight is getting better, so we had to make sure that we were all close to her when we're talking and remind her about the distance between people and the volume of voice, because she always thought people were too far away and couldn't read it. A lot of adaptations for her were when she did her writing were bolder lines because of that. What else have I encountered? There's about 50 more, but I can't think of all at one time. So.
Have you learned more about IDEA and kids with disabilities being a PCA or being a teacher? Or has one affected you more?
I think being a PCA and my other position I have is line therapy. I've learned a lot more through that because it's all hands-on and a lot easier to connect with children when it's one-on-one. So I've learned a lot through that. When you're in the classroom, it's a lot harder because you're distracted by other students. I've learned a lot of patience through my 3 jobs I have that work with people with disabilities, and I mean that's helped me throughout my entire teaching too. So I would say being a PCA has helped me be a better teacher.
Have you ever worked at a school that is all for kids with disabilities like Lionsgate, or
like a charter school?
Yeah.
I have not.
Do you think
I gotta think back now.
Do you think kids do better in schools like that or in public schools where they have services like at the public school and they're pulled out? Or
being that I've never actually observed or worked in a charter school that is strictly for disabilities, I can't really say anything about that. What I could say is I know everyone has their own opinion, because one of the companies I work for, it's working with children with autism, and we do a play-based therapy. And now there's another company that I have friends at that they do more restrictive therapy, where it's reward type therapy, and it's working on social skills, just verbal skills, period. So I guess the arguments that I've had with them, everyone has their own opinion about things. So, like for me, between regular public schools and charter school for children with disabilities, I just know in my working in public schools, having them in the regular ed classrooms, I've seen a lot more. I shouldn't say a lot more. I've seen a lot of improvement in kids with disabilities through play with kids with regular ed. And to me, as a teacher to a whole group, it kind of makes those other regular ed students better people too, because they have to learn. It's not just about the child with the disabilities learning skills to work with them. It's those people, those regular ed students, making skills with them. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's helping both, I think, when they're all together. But from what I know of charter schools, I think it's easier for a teacher to adapt something to a class as a whole than it is. And I ran into that in public schools. It's hard for one teacher to adapt for that one child. So I think both have their advantages in that sense. So I don't know why my phone's going off or why it's not.
Do you remember?
No, I don't know.
Do you remember when you were in school, like kids with disabilities? Were you in school like when the law was effective?
I actually just had this conversation with someone not too long ago how much it's changed. I think, without sounding super opinionated, I think it's almost got worse because when I was younger, we had maybe, I guess, think specifically to just my class, my grade that I graduated with, we had, I think, 2 or 3 people in there, or students in that group that were diagnosed with disabilities. And back then, when I was in school, there wasn't even close to as many disabilities as there are nowadays. So I feel like nowadays, you can make an excuse to, I shouldn't say excuse, but you can give a reason to label any student with some type of learning disability or put them on a spectrum for some type of disability, and it makes it hard for teachers because you have to keep up with all the IEPs, you have to attend all those IEP meetings, and it's not fair.